Hello and welcome in, everyone. We got the 1136 post-game summary today. So we're going to be reading through the 1136 comment section and just seeing what everybody's favorite part of the chapter was, what they're theorizing about, and what are the main talking points coming off of the latest chapter. So with that being said, let's get right to it. So as per usual, just to always reiterate myself, we will start with the top comments and then just kind of work our way down. Not exactly a time limit on this video at all. We're just going with the wind, and then when the wind dies down, we die down. So first comment says, Sai, I'd want to put Jinbei in a tank and let him swim around. This man really is a celestial dragon. He isn't joking when he says it. He'd probably keep loading it up with piranhas too. That's only if Jinbei's lucky. All I gotta say. So next one says, one thing I realize is that the sword in Jarl's head is the same as the one King Harold is holding in the panel. Jarl seems to justify why Loki killed Harold. Harold was probably evil. Loki and Jarl found out and allied, killed him, but to not throw Elbaf into chaos, they said Loki killed him in cold blood. It is no coincidence that the Holy Knights could be summoned on the throne room, which means they had to put a pentagram there before. King Harold was 100% working with Carmel and trafficking giants to the world government. Maybe Mosa is also Jarl. He had a very hairy Dendenmushi, and Loki seemed to talk to him with respect in mind. Okay, yeah, the respect in mind works, but as far as the hairy Dendenmushi goes, I will push back on that a little bit, because when we saw that Dendenmushi, it was classified as a cold resistant one. So because that's so specific, I like to imagine that's why it's hairy. It's hairy to be able to go into cold climates. So I don't think that one fits, but I do like the idea of it being Jarl. But also, when Loki talked to Mosa, Loki said that Mosa must be very bored and that there's like a traumatizing event and that if Loki was there, then they would kill everybody. And also, Loki said that they've actually never met before too. So now that I think about it, it can't be Jarl. As far as the sword goes though, I like that a lot. I've seen people talking about that why does Jarl have a sword in his head if Loki doesn't have a sword himself? And in fact, like you said, the sword kind of looks like the sword we saw in the King Harold panel. Right? So every time we see Loki and we get like the big frame of him, we actually see that he has this giant hammer behind him. So it's like, wait a minute, like how did this happen? Right? Like Jarl even worded it very ambiguously too. He said, oh, Loki was gonna kill King Harold. I tried to stop him and that's how this happened. And it's like, wait a minute, what? Like, how did that happen? Loki doesn't have a sword. What's going on? That looks like Harold's sword, like he said. But the thing is, though, I will say this. The Harold panel that we got while they were giving us Loki's backstory, that might not be Harold. There's a chance that is a different giant entirely, or it could just be a statue of Harold. And the reason why I say that is because typically when Oda goes back in time or shows us a flashback of a character, he does gray out the box, so it's a flashback. Whereas in this one, it looks like it's from present day. The panel before it and the panel after it are both colored the same way. So yeah, I do think that is present day. And another thing to back up that notion is that if you look closely at that panel, you actually see streaks of black lightning flying out. So it's like, wait, what's going on here? Like, is that the Holy Knights? Like, are they doing their magic circle teleportation again? Like, we don't really know. But I don't think that's necessarily Harold. I think it's 50-50. It could either be a statue of Harold, because I do think that would make sense, right? A statue of Harold posed up in the throne room. That sounds a-okay with me. But it could just be another giant entirely. Because we do know that giants are in the castle, of course. And we don't see the face either, so there's a lot of weird things with that. But overall, I like the idea that Loki and Jarl are working together. Even if Mosa is not him, I still think this could work out. And as far as King Harold goes, he did want to open up Elbaf, right? And we do know that there are typically consequences with that. Maybe he was going to work with the world government. Maybe he made some kind of deal that would not benefit Elbaf in the very end. So I do think there is a greater conspiracy here like you're talking about. And yeah, I like it in general. I like it in general. I'm French, and I've noticed multiple times now that the giants act very similarly to the Gauls, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, from the French comic book series Asterix. Just like the Gauls, the giants love to hunt, eat, party, fight over trivial things, but that's not all. The way the giants talk about Nika is also very similar to how the Gauls talk about, I cannot pronounce that, who is associated to the god of war and the god of protection in Celtic mythology. The exclamation is often used in books and other Gaulish gods like, oh man, I can't pronounce those either. I'm so sorry. Like, if I see it and I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna butcher that, I just kind of avoid it, but you guys can see it right here. According to the good old Wikipedia, the name has been repeatedly interpreted as a general title, applying to any tribe's deity. In different inscriptions, therefore, the name would apply to different gods, which is basically what was explained in this chapter. It's so interesting in my opinion. Yeah, I've heard people bring this up before, asterisks at least, and yeah, maybe there are some connections here. We do know that Oda likes to dip his toes in a lot of different texts as well. He doesn't just, you know, hop into Japanese literature. He kind of likes to jump around the entire world. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is a genuine reference. So next up, they say, it sounds like they assumed Loki was the accursed prince before he was even born. So every time something went wrong, he was to be blamed, which probably took its toll. Basically, a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I like this comment too. They say, yeah, they were like, it's raining. It's that damn brat's fault. Yeah, I gotta know, what kind of natural disasters and phenomenon were they talking about, right? Because there are genuine things that could happen that aren't Loki's fault. Like, they brought in Big Mom into the picture. They're like, oh yeah, you know, that was the same year that Big Mom killed Jorel. It's like, okay, but Loki had nothing to do with that. And then they talked about how Loki's mom died a year after giving birth. And I'm like, that's not Loki's fault. Like, I mean, Loki's probably really sad that his mom died. And you got giants over here blaming him. Like, that must be awful. Of course, there are some other things that, like, are definitely his fault, like arsonry. Like, it's hard to justify that one, unless it's gonna be something goofy, like they were really cold and Loki warmed them up by setting their house on fire. The other one that it's hard to excuse is the lucky horse, because we hear that Loki killed the horse with his bare hands, and it's like, all right, like that one, you know, like we'd have to twist logic around a little bit and say maybe the horse wasn't lucky, maybe the horse was bad. But yeah, overall, like half of it was justified against Loki, but the other half is just nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Like, even the prophecy, like, who told the prophecy, man? Like, they just talked about a prophecy, but they didn't say who did it, right? If it's Madame Charlie, then I would agree that, yeah, like, maybe this has some staying power to it. But I mean, it could just be like a con man, right? Like, what if it's somebody who's plotting against Loki or the royal family, and they tell King Harold a nonsense story about how one day his kid's gonna kill him. And then after hearing that, King Harold starts looking at Loki like he's the spawn of sin. Yeah, it is definitely a self-fulfilling prophecy. So this one says, interesting that the God Knights probably don't know about the Straw Hats in Elbaf. If they're here to recruit Loki and not to stop the Straw Hats, this is going to be a sweet surprise. And then, just imagine if Imu suddenly calls them and tells them to be cautious since Luffy is there. I've seen this being floated around, and I would be so sad if this was the case. I would be heartbroken, because this would mean that the God Knights, the Gorosei, and Imu are really bad at team communication. Because here's the thing, the Gorosei all know that Luffy is going to Elbaf. The Vice Admirals know that Luffy's going to Elbaf. It just takes a simple phone call to be like, hey, this is happening. The Straw Hats are there. Be careful. Like, if they're shocked by Luffy, oh man, yeah, ban their chats. But yeah, that's overall how I feel. And we have to remember that a few days have passed. I think the Straw Hats spent 2 days at sea, and then on the 3rd day, that's when Rodo kidnapped them, and then now we're here. So yeah, it's been 3 days since we've left Egghead. I like to imagine that Imu or the Gorosei called these guys up and told them what's on the DL, right? I like to hope. And the reason why I say that the Gorosei know is because they left with the giants, and then even when Saint Saturn was talking to the Vice Admirals post Egghead, the Vice Admiral said, hey, should we chase them down to Elbaf? And Saturn told them no. And Imu was right there listening in, and then eventually killed Saturn. So like, they all know, right? If the God Knights don't know too, I would be disheartened. Definitely. This one says, the OG trio is back together. Oda is cooking up a feast. Yeah, I love it. It has been quite some time. Well, I say quite some time. It hasn't been since the East Blue Saga that these three specifically, no more, no less, have been together and are making moves. So I definitely love that the OG trio is up to their old shenanigans. Now, this one says, Oda, for real, blue walling us with the new bounties. Yeah, we never got them. And we do know that Elbaf doesn't get newspapers inherently, whenever Elbaf gets newspapers, it's from the fishermen. So yeah, we're definitely not going to see these until post Elbaf. And maybe by the time we leave Elbaf, our bounties will go up again. Like if the Straw Hats fight the God Knights and or Loki, the bounty's going to inflate. Right, of course, Luffy already has a higher bounty than Loki, but I'd like to imagine if he beats him or if he allies with them, Luffy's bounty will just still go up. And then, of course, if he fights Stabs or Gunko and he beats them and or, clashes with them, again, bounty goes up, bounty goes up. This one says, Loki was violent. Says the giants that like to fight to death over everything. That's what I said, bro. Like, what is going on here? They're like, yeah, Loki's, he's a bad man. He killed King Harold? Like, when they were shocked by that, I was like, wait, aren't the giants like a race of fighters and warriors? Like, what are we talking about here? Yeah, maybe they have gone soft. I think King Harold definitely poisoned the well. That loser! This one says, just to elaborate on Sai's point about Road, shout out to him for being the hidden MVP of the arc already by stopping numerous WG agents through the help of his crow Mugen. He might be a gag character, but he actually is a secret hero / defender of Elbaf. Yep. And the craziest part too is that since we have those guys in Roto's Playhouse, I wonder, I doubt we're going to do it by the way, because One Piece typically doesn't go this route. But if we wanted to min-max, let's say the Straw Hats find out that they are world government operatives, we could technically torture them for information. If they were sent here by the God Knights or Celestial Dragons, maybe we get some info, man. Maybe we get some info. But like I said, that's not what One Piece is all about. I doubt we're going to start waterboarding these dudes. I doubt it. This one says, I think the Who's Who building is a temple to the... Oh, yep. Temple to the sun god. After all, he loves the thought of Nika. Now he knows he exists and it's Luffy. He beats his boss, who is seen as unbeatable. It would be hilarious. And I love this. I talked about this with Par yesterday. But essentially, we know that Oda loves to line up certain cover page stories with the chapters. He's been doing that a lot ever since Egghead. Well, a lot. He's done it like 3 or 4 times. But I wonder what we'll see once Yamato goes inside Who's building. Like, imagine she breaks open the door, and instead of seeing a gang of fighters, instead, she sees a gang of Sun God Nika believers. And that could tie in with Elbaf. Like, maybe Luffy goes Gear 5th in a chapter, and he looks like the original Sun God Nika. The sword, the spear, the dagger, the shield, whatever you want to give him. And we see that reflected in Who's mural, because that is the guy who gave us the first silhouette of Sun God Nika. I do think Oda is planning to line something up here, and it's something that only Who's Who could give us. That would be hilarious, man. I mean, making Who's Who relevant in 2025, who would have thunk? Next up, they say, Luffy is actually just this depiction since Zoro is a sword and Sanji, Jiraiya is his shield. Yep. And I've talked about this too before, but I have seen people saying that Sanji is also the spear in the other Sun God Nika depiction because Sanji is like all about, precise attacks. He uses his leg to attack everybody, black leg Sanji. So like, yeah, like, Zoro's sword, Sanji spear. Or you could even use this and say Sanji, Jiraiya, shield. I think Luffy kind of fits all of those depictions. But I do wonder if Luffy will just eventually get weaponry. Because we do know that Luffy likes swords. Like going back when we were in Wano, when Luffy saw the blade in the very beginning, he grabbed it from Sukiyaki and he started punching with it. So we know that Luffy loves stuff like this. So maybe one day he does see a sword or a shield or a dagger or a spear and he's like, wow, this is cool. But he doesn't know how to fight with it because he's Luffy, right? He just throws punches. This one says, Sai is defending Loki harder than them Diddy lawyers. Oh man, you should have seen it. I had a crazy theory going on. I don't know if I'll post it, but I've been on the fence. I had a theory talking about how everything people are blaming Loki of is actually due to Ange. Ange has been setting this guy up. Ange killed the horse. Ange killed King Harold. Ange over here set houses on fire. She let the animals loose. Maybe we blame this all on Ange. Maybe Ange is the one who killed Loki's mom. You never know, man. I mean, until we see the tapes, until we see the backstory with our own eyes, anything's possible. And I still don't trust Ange. I've been thinking about that girl day and night and just how evil she is, how evil she could be. And here's the thing, you got me on a tangent now. But the Holy Knights, the God Knights, They came here to recruit a member into their squad. Loki's not taking it. Well, what do we do? You know, where are we gonna go? Who are they gonna go to next in the world of One Piece? Well, maybe they don't have to go anywhere. Maybe the next God Knight will come to them. Maybe that person is here on the island. Maybe that person is Ange. We know firsthand. And I'm saying this because I watched Vinland Saga not too long ago, but we know firsthand, man, these guys like to sleep around, man. These kings, oh man, they spread their seed far and wide. What if Ange is a bastard child? What if Ange is Loki's stepsister? She was mad at Loki, you know, over here, king's son, you know, my Musco, like, you know, over here talking about Loki and Harden every single day, and Ange gets tossed to the wayside with her mom. Maybe she was mad. Maybe that's why she killed Loki's mom instead, you know, getting some good old-fashioned revenge. And then she later went on and killed King Harold and blamed Loki. I don't know, man. You know, maybe we could turn this around and everything Loki has done is actually due to the fault of Ange. We've seen this before in other animes. You know, Dio is a prime example. Dio over here making JoJo's life a living hell for no reason. No reason. And then we got the reverse Flash. The reverse Flash, man, he's over here jacking off Barry, making him jizz when a woman touches him. And he's like, it was me, Barry. I did that to you. Like, oh, man. Like, dude, comic book characters, anime characters, they can be really evil for no reason. Maybe Ange is falling in that category. You never know. You never know. And Loki, what does he do in defense? He does nothing. He's a warrior. He swallows the rage, and he's going to use it to burn down the world. But yeah, that's enough of that. That's us, you know, that's a hint into my greatest theory ever made that I'll be releasing sometime soon. So this one says, Zoro once again shows why he's the vice captain. Fire emoji. I like the... I like the name Recency Bias Radio. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, I like it. I love when Zoro's like, hey, you know, I'm gonna come with you. I just gotta make sure Loki ain't lying. And I love that Zoro doesn't even tell Luffy no. You know, this idea is awful. If anybody else other than the captain were to come up with this idea, Zoro would be like, no, like, why are we you're releasing a criminal? Because he might know about Shanks? No way, no way. You know, we're not taking that risk. But because it's Luffy, Zoro's just gonna go along with it. And he's just there as insurance, and that's what I really love. Gunko, using what seems to be Imu's arrow attack that he used against Sabo. Nai confirms the God Knights don't have devil fruits, but get their own powers from Imu like the Gorosei. I love it. Yep, this is exactly where I'm at. As far as it being like Imu's attack, yes. Actually, now that I think about it, because at first I was like, wait, maybe it's just the same shape. Maybe it is a coincidence. Maybe all the God Knights have arrow attacks. But what if it's exactly the same? What if Imu actually used a bandage attack like this against Sabo and King Cobra? And Imu has all the powers that the God Knights have. Like, he shares all of it. And now that he's not using it, he gives it to Gunko. I think that is a possibility. But as far as like the God Knights not having devil fruits, I've been a big fan of this idea from the very start. I do think Celestial Dragons are a little bit picky with what they do. And I do not think any single one of them have devil fruits. Until we get one Gorosei member or one God Knight with the devil fruit, I just think they don't have them right now. You know, that's a pretty decent guess, right? Like, there's nothing to disprove it. There's nothing to prove it. That is just my vibes right here. I really don't think there are multiple Sun God Nikas. There's just one and many different interpretations of what he represents. Liberation, destruction, laughter. Honestly, it's probably all of them combined. Liberation for the weak, destruction for the cruel rulers of the current world, and laughter and cheer for all of his allies. Yeah, I do like this idea. At first, I was like, I don't know. Like, I think the two Sun God thing makes more sense, but I'm starting to be swayed. I've seen a lot of people hopping on this one, and I can see the vision. I can see the light. I will say, though, that the only reason why I still think there's two right now, or like at least that's where I'm leaning, is because of Loki. If Loki didn't call himself the Sun God and how he wants to destroy the world, and since we know that he actually ate a devil fruit that has been passed down throughout Elbaf's history, then yeah, I mean, I feel like it has to be a Sun God fruit. Like, I can't imagine another devil fruit that they've been storing for generations, right? I think that's the only reason why I think there are two Sun Gods, but of course, I feel like once Loki breaks out and we see his transformation, we will have confirmation. That is for sure. This one says, I'm 95% sure that Loki is mostly a good guy. I like that. This chapter convinced you 100%, or 95%. Also, I think it's important to see what the different translations say about the Elder Giant's sword wound. The one I read said he got the wound while trying to stop King Harold's killing. Not that Loki literally gave it to him directly. Also, traditionally, the first-hand account of people who got severe head trauma may not be perfect. Ooh, that is correct. Yeah, I didn't think about this last part. Yeah, you're totally cooking with that one. I read the Viz. The Viz came out yesterday, this morning, and yes, the translation here was pretty much exactly the same. Jarl just said he was trying to stop Loki, not that Loki gave it to him. And the funniest part about this last part here, right? The fact that Jarl has severe head trauma. We don't know what that sword wound looks like still. Like, it could just be a straight up stab, but I still think there's a possibility where somebody slammed the sword into his head and it's simply like shaped to his helmet. And if that's the case, I mean, hey, that is also severe head trauma. So go down. Let's see what this says. We definitely going to see a panel of Luffy getting the glimpse of stabs, and Luffy's going to be like, Shanks? Oh man, look at the AI comments. That's pretty hype. Heart emoji with the eyes. I don't think it'll be a simple stab. It'll probably be a whole fight scene, LOL. Oh, AI, it tripped up. It tripped up. Look at this. AI thinks that stab literally means the verb to stab, and it didn't register that this is an actual person. Oh, AI, we got you today. We won. Humanity takes the victory. Oh, but yeah, I'm excited for this. And then I like to imagine that Stabs gets offended. Like, imagine Luffy says, oh, Shanks, is that you? And then Stabs, like, gets really mad. And then he, like, rips off the cape and he looks completely different. When the crew gets to the location of Loki's keys, it's highly likely that they'll find two giants that just got injured / killed by Gunko. Yep, I think they're going to walk into a bloodbath. I think it'd be really cool if they walk in and there's like a sea of giants. Like, you know, we saw them fight two of them and like two giants, it's nothing, man. Like, yeah, regular One Piece character, that's a lot. But for a God Knight, you know, that should be nothing. So I think it'd be really cool if we walk in and there's like 100 dead or injured giants. Or, you know, I'm still a fan of the mummy idea, but imagine they're like all wrapped up and cocooned as well. I think that'd be awesome. It'd be like something out of a horror movie. Now, going down, they say the Holy Knights are all streamers / YouTubers. They were filming a last to leave the circle challenge whenever there were attacks at Marie Joie, including Fisher Tiger, Kuma, Sabo, and the rest of the Revs. Gunko is used to the camera angle above her waist, and that's why, similar to Sai, she's not used to wearing pants. I wear pants! Alright, let me disprove this. I wear pants. I notoriously wear sweats. Black sweats. St. Garling is like one of the OGs who got to host a late night show with the rest of the elders. I mean, hey, this is the best explanation I've seen. The last to leave the circle challenge, something straight out of a Mr. Beast video. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this has to be explained. Like, bro, Fisher Tiger, come on. You're telling me they let Fisher Tiger run amok up in the Holy Land? How? Like, I don't want to disrespect Fisher Tiger because I like him, but dude, the guy was weak, man. Like, I still stand by the notion that Garling could put this guy down. Gunko could put this guy down. Stabs could put this guy down. The Holy Knights we haven't met could put this guy down. Like, Fisher Tiger literally died to Vice Admiral Strawberry. Like, Strawberry of all people. All right, Kizaru didn't show up till later, and then, of course, there's, like, gunmen there, but yeah. Oh, that's a whole thing. Kuma. For Kuma, they had a Kainu, so I can see why the Holy Knights didn't do anything here. And then, of course, this was after the Reverie, so the Holy Knights could have already been deployed. As far as Sabo and the Revs, yeah, this one is unexcusable, right? You got actual invaders in there. So, like, where are these guys, man? Like, it's gotta be something silly, right? Last to leave the circle, maybe they were, like, on the charging port. Maybe you have to, like, go down into a laboratory and activate them manually. I have no idea. I hope we get this explanation, because I am so curious. And I feel like this is something Oda will explain. There's no way he leaves this open and just says, oh yeah, by the way, they're just MIA. Yeah, they're just in the background. Don't worry about it. So Mr. Bushido with the $2 super chat. Thank you. He says, I think Luffy freeing Loki will turn the giants on them, leading to some of the crew infighting, as Usopp won't appreciate these three doing this. I agree with this. I don't think Usopp will like the fact that Luffy's freeing Loki, but it really depends on what Loki's gonna do afterwards. there's a chance that Loki could run amok and become this destructor, right? Because he wants to end the world. So there is a chance that Loki does fight the giants. And if that happens, yeah, the Straw Hats are at fault. And then Usopp gets really upset. But there is another scenario where Loki joins Luffy and or becomes friendly or tamed. And the reason why I think this is because of the existence of Lola. If Nami mentions Lola, that could be his Winter Soldier code. Like Loki, this guy is all about destruction, you know, killing people, crazy pranks. The only time we've seen Loki humanized was in the very beginning, when they said, oh yeah, like Loki was gonna marry Lola, and then we saw him like on his knees, he had a flower, and then Lola rejected him, and then maybe that's when all hell broke loose. Maybe if Nami tells Loki about Lola, or we say that we're friends with Lola or something of the sort, maybe Loki will change tunes. That is what I think, or at least that's like a possibility that I think is possible. But yeah, I do like the idea of the infighting. Of course, with the crew infighting, I think it would really only be Usopp, and it's not even like I don't trust my captain thing. I think it's just because he's heralded as the champion of the giants, so maybe like it gets forced upon Usopp. But even then, like, I think the Straw Hats just appreciate Luffy so much and they trust in all of his decisions that they'll just kind of follow him no matter what. There will be some like arguments, maybe verbally, but I don't think it's going to be anything that major. One thing I found interesting was that Rhodes Jankro Mugen seems to be the combination of the names Hugin and Munin, which in Norse mythology were a pair of ravens which served Odin by scouting Midgard, realm of the humans, and bringing him information. Yep, I think the leakers and Sandman and a couple of other translators pointed this out as well, and it's really cool. I think this is a great nod from Oda, and it shows that Oda is, you know, in tune with Norse mythology. You know, he's done his research, and it definitely shows. This one just says, back at it again, fire emoji. And this one says, Loki's laugh is distinct from Luffy's, so I don't think he has the Hito no Mi like Luffy. I don't think laughs have to do with devil fruits. There are some replies. Let me see. Might be the Hito no Mi, mythical Zoan, model Sun God Nika of destruction. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now, because I just feel like that's the most logical conclusion, but I mean, it's One Piece, so, you know, logic doesn't always apply. This one says, there's no laugh that's similar in One Piece other than that of the smile users, so I don't think the sound of laughs should be used to guess what fruit he has. Usually they laugh using the fruit's first three letters like Whitebeard. Yeah, because he has the gura-da-da-da-da. Because he has the Gurgur no Mi. This doesn't always work, though. Let me see. Let me look this up on the side. I don't think this is something that is super consistent, because Luffy laughs with she. Sometimes it's he for Hito. I could see that. But Chopper also has the Hito no Mi, but he doesn't laugh like he. And then Gecko Moria, yeah, he has the Shadow Fruit, but okay, so we're going on a little road trip. I pulled all of this up. So this is a One Piece wiki and every character's distinctive laughing style. So yeah, Luffy has the she, which could be like lion, which, you know, lion, sunflower, sun god. I could see that, but it's not Hito no Mi per se. Buggy is just ha. It's a basic one. Django has one. Nesmi has chi. Let me find somebody who has a devil fruit. Wapol, mo ha. But Wapol has, let me see. I guess we could just like pull up the first 2 or 3 use cases and then go from there. And the reason I'm looking up the devil fruits, by the way, I know what fruit he has, but I just don't know what it is in Japanese. So Wapol has the Baku no Mi, so that laugh would not match up. Crocodile has ku ha, but he has the Suna no Mi, right? Is that what it is? Yeah, the Suna no Mi, so this one doesn't match up. Bentham, which is Mr. 2, his laugh is ga ha. Mr. 2 has the Mane no Mi, so that doesn't match up either. Marco has the, what is this laugh? Mo ha. He does a mo ha. Marco fruit, and that is a Tori no Mi. So I don't think this lines up. I think I just looked at like what 4 or 5, maybe even 6 different characters with devil fruits. This right here does not actually line up all the time. I'm trying to think. I think it only lines up with Whitebeard, does it? Oh, look, they even say it right here. Okay, so this one, yeah, Whitebeard. This one references his devil fruit. So if there's any other ones, it would say it. And there is no other one. Oh, this one. Perona. Horo. And she has the Horo no Mi. So that's 2. Okay, Kaido maybe. It says his laugh can be romanized as Urororo, which would reference his devil fruit, which is the Uo no Mi. Okay, there we go. So that's 3. So 3, let me see. And that's it. So 3 out of all of these characters have laughs that reference devil fruits. And Luffy's doesn't even reference it, according to the wiki. Because the she, that's his main laugh. And of course, he doesn't have a she fruit per se or anything of the sort. I think this has like certain cases where it works, but not always, not always. And here we go. Oh, wow. $5 super chat. Thank you, brother. Theory. What if Garling gets a Fenrir yokai power and his 2 sons, Stabs and Shanks, represent Skull and Haiti? I hope that's how you pronounce it, who chase the sun, Luffy, and the moon, Emu. One thing that makes me think this is that any of Loki's animals could have come to help him, like the gorilla or polar bear, but Oda specifically chose the wolf. And also Stabs, fake Shanks, was the only one to react to it, and Gunko was unfazed. Also, Garling replaced Saturn, and one of Saturn's moon is called Fenrir. Yep, funny enough, I actually have a theory completely on this. Let me pull it up. Shameless plug. Let me get this cooking real quick. It is right here on my secondary theory channel. I got this video which talks about that exact thing, Skull and Hot. I also have like a couple of other ones in there, like Griffin as well. And then for Garling, this is my Fenrir video for him, Fenrir-Werewolf. And then here's another one doubling down on the Fenrir Werewolf Train 2. So yeah, I'm completely with you. We have the exact same idea, brother. We might as well be twins. Maybe maybe you can be Stabs and I can be Shanks. Well, actually, I'd rather be Stabs. I like villains. Hot take, I think I like Stabs a lot right now. A little bit more than Shanks. We gotta see more of him, but I just like bad guys. This one says, they never say that Loki stabbed Jarl, but that he was stabbed trying to stop him. Almost like stuff just happened around him and he was blamed because of the prophecy. Also, think that streak of lightning was them leaving the castle since they go to see Loki after the page. Yep. So this is in reference to the Herald panel, or the supposed Herald panel, where we see the black lightning. I think the same thing. I think that's when they just like magic circle out of there. But a weird thing you'll notice is that the doors to the castle are broken, or at least there's like a hole cut out of it. So it's like, wait, did they teleport to the underworld, or did they break the door and leave from the front entrance? I can't really tell. Maybe even the black lightning is from them fighting, but yeah, that is yet to be seen. So now the last comment, and then we'll knock this out right here. They say, I believe the variants of the sun god's interpretation are just due to information lost in history. Luffy is still the real and only sun god, who is all in one: laughter, destruction, and liberation. And we're still missing too much context to label destruction as the bad and evil one here. Yes, I completely agree. Depending on who you are, depending on what side you're on, destruction can also be a good thing, right? Like maybe it's like destruction to oppressors, destruction to corrupt rulers, as somebody, earlier above said as well. I think that could totally be the case. We'll get one more in here. This one says, I think the reason Nami and Zoro went with Luffy to the underworld is because Oda is setting up the fight with the people there. Luffy fights Stabs, Nami fights Gunko, and Zoro fights Loki for some reason. I like that. Even you're like, oh yeah, I don't know why he does it, but for some reason, Zoro's fighting Loki, since he doesn't seem to like Loki based on what was said in this chapter. Yeah, I could totally see this. I even like duo fights. I would love to see Luffy and Loki fighting together. Maybe they fight together to beat Stabs, and then Zoro and Nami fight Gunko. 2v1, which would be crazy hype, right? Like, dang, we've never had a Zoro-Nami team-up? Let me think. Zoro-Nami team-up. Not in the East Blue. Never happened in the East Blue. Did not happen in Alabasta. Yeah, they've never teamed up before in a battle. So I would love it if, yeah, Nami and Zoro team up, and then Luffy and Loki, the guy who thinks he's the sun god, fighting with the real sun god. I think that'd be really poetic. But yes, that is it, guys. Let me know what you thought about this chapter down below. How do you feel about it now that a whole couple of days have passed? I was about to say day, but it's like a couple of days now. I would love to see any and all those thoughts down below. And let's get ready for our chapter 1137, which is right around the corner. My name is Sai, and I'm signing out. Thanks for being here, guys.